What's going on, everybody? It's your boy Destroy coming at you with our Friday video going over the tight ends for week 12. And yeah, so Zach Ertz, just right off the bat, playing Seattle. Don't really enjoy this Zach Ertz thing this season. He's tight end that, after last year with the injuries this year, you would have thought he would have had a record breaking year. In fact, he probably is on a record breaking year for himself for, one of the worst years he's had in a few years. Um, Granted, there's still 5 weeks left in the season, and a lot can change in 5 weeks. We don't know what this Philadelphia team does. They really turn it up towards the end of the season. Um, but yeah, Zach Ertz just hasn't been that consistent guy or that touchdown guy that everyone thought he was going to be. He has 2 touchdowns all season. I think that shocked everybody. Granted, you look at his receptions, his yards the last 2 games, 9 for 11 in both games. Just week 9 against the Bears, he had 9 more yards and a touchdown. But it's still decent numbers. But is it worth paying $6,000 for against Seattle? Not really. Not in my opinion. Seattle has only allowed 4 passing touchdowns to tight ends this year. They allow a decent amount of yards, and clearly the last 2 weeks they've gotten Zach Ertz in the offense. But that's not to say that they're going to continue. So he's probably not one of my favorite plays here. Definitely one of my not favorite plays here is Darren Waller against the Jets. Jets top 6 defense against tight ends this year. They've only allowed 2 passing touchdowns to tight ends and only 408 passing yards. So definitely not a favorable matchup here for Darren Waller, especially being on the road. It's just hard to get some interest in there in a bad matchup. Jared Cook, he's gotten he's gotten the points here lately. You look at the numbers, 10 plus in every game, being 3 to 4,000. They're playing Carolina though, and I don't think Jared Cook is going to shine here. Carolina top 4 defenses against tight ends, only allowing 2 touchdowns also, but actually the same amount of yards as the Jets, 408. That's kind of crazy. The only difference is Carolina's allowed 5 less receptions to tight ends. So, yeah, Jared Cook, definitely not a big guy I'm interested in this week. Hollister against Philly, kind of the same thing. Hollister has really filled in for the Will Dissly absence. You look at his price points the last 2 weeks, 29.32. He jumped up $1,100 for a guy that's gotten 3 touchdowns in the last 2 weeks. And yeah, but yet again, it's just another matchup that just doesn't sit right with me. One of the things I like to look for at defenses is teams that allow receptions, not just yardage, touchdowns, points. I like looking at receptions, targets to receptions, because that always, to me, that just means that they allow more stuff to tight ends. That's where the yards, touchdowns, fantasy points, all that comes from, is basically just receptions. And yards after the catch, too. Those are 2 big things you got to look at for tight ends. Honestly, Ryan Griffin's probably just one of my favorite tight ends right now, looking at it. Granted, he's another player who's, look at his price all season. Above 3K twice, was below 3K last week, and 24.9 points. So he's up to 4,200, and the reason being is they're playing Oakland. Oakland is 3rd in touchdowns allowed, actually tied for 2nd at 7. And they allow 571 passing yards, 48 receptions, which isn't a crazy good number. But Griffin has become a really good vocal point in that offense. He's had 1 bad week in the last 5, and that Giants game was just crazy. Regardless, but yeah, he's gotten 3 touchdowns in the last 4 weeks too, which brings interest in. And there's not another Jets tight end that's gonna really steal anything from him, so that's always a plus. Greg Olson, 4,100 against New Orleans. New Orleans, a team that I would say is pretty decent against tight ends. They're another team that allows 2 touchdowns. They allow a little more receptions and a little more yards than the Jets and Philly, or Jets and Carolina, I should say. I'm sorry, Jets and Carolina. Um, but Greg Olson is Greg Olson, and he always somebody that can jump out and just go crazy. The thing is Cam Newton is still not there, and we've only seen Greg Olson shine what, once, since Newton's left. So it's just hard to really go for him and really commit to Greg Olson without Cam Newton and without Kyle Allen, including Greg Olson there. So probably not one of my favorite ones either. Noah Fant, definitely. I'm not even going to talk about it. Noah Fant's put up some decent numbers. But the Bills just played tight ends really, really good. Number one against tight ends. They've only allowed 1 touchdown, 29 receptions, and 296 yards to tight ends. And Noah Fant is not anything special. He had a 75-yard reception here this season. Guess what? That's it. That's honestly it. Last week against Minnesota's a pretty bad team against tight ends too. 4 receptions on 10 targets for only 60 yards. So yeah, that's not making me want to play Font at all. See, the thing here is Dallas Goedert has more touchdowns than Zach Ertz, and he's what, $2,300 cheaper. So yeah, there's just like I said, the whole Ertz thing that just brings in a whole new aspect of why to kind of lay off of Ertz. Cameron Brate. We'll talk Cameron Brate and OJ Howard. OJ Howard 33. Cameron Brate 36. Playing against Atlanta. Atlanta, yet again, another team that I would say is average against tight ends. 4 touchdowns allowed. But the thing, the why you just can't take Brate or Howard in cash. Howard just hasn't done the season that anyone expected him to do. And then you go ahead and look at Cameron Brate. Man, last week, really good week. But guess what? He's had some duds. He has. So yeah, it's without any coaching commitment to fully going to the tight ends. They've said it all season of we're going to get OJ Howard in this offense. They haven't. So yeah, it's pretty hard to go to that. Jonas Smith against Jacksonville. I'm not totally against Jacksonville. Pretty average against tight ends. But he's another guy. Just look at his numbers. You just really can't commit to it. One of the guys that I think you can commit to, just $100 cheaper, $3,500. Vance McDonald against Cincinnati. James Conner is announced out, and that means Vance McDonald is in. And if you look at his recent games, guess what? He was not in against their first game earlier. So we don't know what he's going to do, but it's Pittsburgh against Cincinnati. So imagine he's got to be included somewhere in that offense. So definitely liking him. Got a really, really good matchup here. Yeah, I just, like I said, one of my favorite plays here this week at tight end. Jason Witten against New England. Jason Witten has been, I'd say, average. Look at his numbers, just average. If you want an average player, go after Jason Witten. If you need somebody that's going to get you at least 5 points and not do anything really spectacular, go Jason Witten. Kaseki, I think is how you say his name. I can just never get it right. Playing against Cleveland this week. Browns, another average team against tight ends, allow a decent amount of yards, more than others. But just hasn't done anything spectacular. One good game all season is not anything for me to commit to. No touchdowns this year. Cleveland's a very high favorite this week, so I Yeah, no commitment there at all. Hawkinson against Washington? Sure, I'll take Hawkinson against Washington. Washington's got a terrible defense, regardless of who the quarterback is, for Detroit. Clearly, they're going to move the ball. He's cheap. They should put up a ton of points against Washington here. And I can honestly see Hawkinson get included in this offense, especially 3,400. Doesn't break your bank either if he doesn't go off. Not interested in either Atlanta tight end this week. Granted, Tampa Bay, you see Tampa Bay, and you're like, oh man, this is Atlanta tight end territory. But yeah, I'll show you both numbers. Load Luke up here. Yeah, this is why yet again you can't commit to either tight end. Like, if you want to take the risk in this in cash, by all means, go right ahead. But I will not. So the other thing that we're going to look at is Demetrius Harris. Supposed to get included in that offense, and Jones, both of them. Either one, if you want to play the risk here for Cleveland tight ends against Miami, terrible defense, terrible team. Cleveland got a really good defense without Myles Garrett now, but still, by all means, neither one, in my opinion, is a bad option. I think they're both going to get enough snaps, both enough targets. But they're not my favorite. It's just a good matchup. Is all. Ben Watson against Dallas. Yet again, Ben Watson I can compare to Win. Guy, you want 5 points? Sure. You want him to explode? Not gonna happen. I guess the last guy we'll leave off with Sprinkle. Jeremy Sprinkle. Vernon Davis, questionable, I still think. Playing against the Detroit Lions, Detroit is not that great against tight ends. And with Dwayne Haskins being in and being the quarterback, you can honestly see a change happening with that offense. And Sprinkle at any time could be included in that. But just, it's hard. It's hard. Tight ends are really rough this week. So, but I think the tight end I'm going to go with, I'm just going to be smart, Vance McDonald. So we're going to pick the defense tomorrow, and we're going to pick the flex tomorrow. So definitely tune into those videos, or video, I should say. Hope you guys did enjoy this, and we will see you in the next video, guys. Thanks for watching.